We have the content. We have the blockchain that will protect us. Blockchain, let's say it is a chain that combines all these IoT devices that are physical or digital ones, doesn't matter. But if we are talking about the digital ones, there is a question. How we can interact with this digital content? How can we make money on it? And the answer comes from augmented reality. Augmented reality is the single information space where everyone will be able to interact with mixed reality objects every day in real life. It is a single information space and environment where everyone will be able to add his own content to this real world and to rule this world with the tip of the finger. We will be able to change our real surroundings on the fly using any AR device that will appear in the future. Today everyone has the access to augmented reality through your mobile phone that everyone has. In the future it will be glasses, lenses, doesn't matter. The world will be different. This is a short and small example of augmented reality. So already today we generate the augmented reality layer on the entire surface of the planet. And we are bringing together the virtual world and the real one, creating the mixed reality. We have not only the content as I said. The most deficit asset in augmented reality world, which is linked directly to the real world, is the space. If I want to put this table in this real world or a shop outside, I need the space, right? I need those 100 square meters of the space. And now imagine that if I want to put the same online shop in this real world, but this online shop can be virtual. I need the space again, but this digital space. That's why we invented the digital land, which is linked directly to this real world. And this digital land, this is the most deficit asset. And it is already for sale, so you can already buy the digital land, then to place any virtual object in this land. And this virtual object will appear directly in the real world, but it will be digital one. We're talking about mixed reality. In this world, everything is limited just by your imagination. Because I believe that everything in this world is created two times. First it is created in your mind, and then it is created in the real world. For me, everything already happened, you know? And it's just a matter of time, because it's time to wait until the reality wakes up. Welcome. Welcome to the future. And I can tell you more about augmented reality. I can tell you more about the synergies of different technologies, and I will have another opportunity today in the afternoon to talk about augmented reality and AI. So, the digital land is for sale already. The digital content will appear in the real world very soon. Please enjoy what you are doing, guys, and smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. It was founder of Arbona Digital Land, and our next speaker is Michelle Singh, advisor and CEO, Elevate the Blockchain and member, Blockchain Advocacy Coalition. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Michelle. I'm the founder and CEO of Elevate the Blockchain. I'm also an advisor, strategic advisor for a number of awesome companies, and part of the California Blockchain Advocacy Coalition. So we basically help California pass 2 blockchain bills recently as well. And I have a background in payments. I was a PayPal attorney for about 6 years. After that, I went and did my startup, volunteered and did a lot of nonprofit in the AI space. And I'm happy to speak about IoT and blockchain and AI today. So my presentation today is about smart keys. So I was asked to speak about how we could use the Internet of Things and combine that with blockchain. I also added a little AI in there as well. So what is the problem today? I don't know if does everyone own a house? Not a lot of people. We have homes in California, and sometimes, there are false alarms, and once you have an alarm, the police would come, but they would charge you $20 if it's fake. And our machines also do not communicate with each other. So do our smart homes speak with our cars? Do our phones speak with our cars or communicate with our homes? Probably not. So what happens to that data? When there's an alarm, what happens to them? Do we really know what is going to happen? Can we analyze that data? So I came up with something called smart keys. I thought it's pretty cool. And one, we can automate everything, so we really don't need to install a whole alarm system, have the police come, have people call you to verify, and then you give them the passcode. And there would be machine-to-machine communication, so the cars would talk to the house, and then they would also talk to the phone, and then they would also talk to the AI. And there will be artificial intelligence in the blockchain. So how? So that is a smart key. It would have that panic button and the lock and unlock button, and like normal, and then it could also open your trunk. However, it's also connected to your home and it's connected to your phone. It would have elements of time, location, and caution. And also, so the smart key is a device, which is, what the Internet of Things is. And then there would be a decentralized app on your phone. There's a tokenization layer. And then also a consensus layer to verify whether the alarm is false or not. And then there's the blockchain layer. So there's a house alarm. The car is like, well, owner's not home because the car is located somewhere else. The phone would basically verify, are you home? And then there's like minors. Minors basically could confirm on the consensus layer, and they say no. And then the AI says send humans to check, right? So then you don't have to really pay that $20 usually to the police. So then there's also another use is really, your house is locked for a week, your car is in a forest for a week, right? So then there's no action at all. Your phone is like, are you safe? Well, your AI basically analyzes the data, like through patterns. It basically predicts that you really don't like camping for more than 3 days. They were very particular and sophisticated. So that your validator would say no. So then they would send people to check to see how you're doing. So if you guys have any questions, and this is me, you can follow me on Twitter and also Telegram. And if you're an investor, I advise a number of awesome companies, and come in and speak with me after. Thank you.
Thank you, that was Michelle Singh. And last speaker of this session is Arifa Khan, CEO of HCX. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Hi. I'm from London. I'm the founder and CEO of Himalaya Capital Exchange. I have a background in capital markets and blockchain. So IoT is new for me, so possibly this is my first talk on IoT. I'm fond of giving talks, not too much slides, so I'll try to explain to you some of the insights on how IoT, artificial intelligence and blockchain are all integrated. So let's begin with war and peace, right? So nations today are not fighting wars on battlefields, they are fighting mind wars. The wars have come to the levels of intelligence. They are not being fought anymore on battlefields with physical weaponry or with the military, right? As we have already seen, nowadays there is war happening on data centers. Recently you have seen the WannaCry ransomware, and you all know that the accusations are pointing to one particular country or its rogue actors and so on. So the intelligence, when it is vulnerable and it gets into the hands of another country, then we have lost everything, right? So then they don't need to breach our physical barriers and invade our borders to conquer our countries, because whatever is valuable and wealthy resides in intelligence and in data centers. So naturally, all the wealth is congregating in companies which are in control of this intelligence or this data specifically, right? So what we call artificial intelligence is nothing but data, because you have to feed algorithms this data and train them on how to think. And the more data you feed and more that the algorithms become smart after learning from this data, then it acquires even more intelligence and it's much faster than human intelligence and so on. So the capability of artificial intelligence today is dependent on the quality and the quantity and the variability of data that you feed to it. So where is this data coming from? So the data is all coming from devices, right? And these devices are all intelligent and they are all connected to internet, and that is why these are IOT devices. So our artificial intelligence capability is completely dependent on our IoT devices. So IoT, Internet of Things, became a phrase sometime back a few years ago, when the number of humans on Earth was surpassed by the number of intelligent devices that were connected to the internet. This was many years ago. So in fact, I had very interesting slides which showed when the Internet of Things exceeded the internet and so on. So now there is not a single IoT device that is unconnected to Amazon Echo or Google Home when you're talking about home kind of devices. So look at the corporate wars, for instance. We've already talked about the nation wars. So for corporate wars, there are the big players like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon and Facebook, right? So let's talk about them. So Google already has Google Home, which has all your IoT devices connected to Google Home. Samsung, which is another extremely capable electronics player, has now introduced Bixby, which is an equivalent of Amazon Echo and Google Home. Apple has HomePod, which is once again an ecosystem that connects all the IoT devices and collects all the data. So all the big players are into IoT, and this is their next big game, because they will not only be in IoT and data centers, but they will also get into artificial intelligence layer. Now, let's go back to the national defenses and why IoT is important there. As you may have heard, China has recently made history by becoming one of the first nations to have the facial recognition software implemented on all its citizens. So one of the Chinese startups has more than 1 billion data, so that means more than 1 billion people's faces captured in its data, which is capable of facial recognition. It's the world's first. We can all question about human rights and invasion of privacy and so on, and privileges of the developed world and so on. But this is happening in China. Personally, I believe it's an invasion of privacy and it should be curtailed. But who can stand up to, not the Chinese citizens. The Chinese citizens cannot stand up to China and say what you're doing is wrong. But China has currently this capability of facial recognition of its entire citizenry, on the basis of which it is going further in invasion of privacy, and they are going to build a social reputation score for every single citizen of China, and it's based on this facial recognition software. And how did they get this far? Because of IOT. Because any device that is intelligent, that can capture your data and can scan and transmit that data to the government, was an IoT device, right? So Amazon back in 2014 built something for the CIA. As you know, CIA is the America's intelligence agency, right? So even intelligence agencies are dependent on intelligent corporates to build these kind of capabilities for them. So Amazon built a cloud computing system for CIA. We all have had many debates on whether cloud computing is secure, whether it has cybersecurity risks and so on. But CIA trusted Amazon to build this cloud computing software with extra compliance and extra security layers and so on, right? So CIA got this built by Amazon. And there were two other startups called AI cybersecurity startups. They were Harvest AI and Squirrel, which specialized in the AI for cybersecurity. So why cybersecurity is related to IoT is precisely because of this. You don't know when data centers, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and breach of national security with all this is commingling, and when it is different. It's all merging together, right? So it's a very grave threat to national security as well, not just personal security, because our data is not our data anymore. It's there with the country, and it's there with the Amazon's data center, because even the CIA, has entrusted its data to a private corporate.
I'm sorry.
Or
1 minute.
Oh, okay, great. So let's quickly go to the use cases here. So now there is a new concept called edge computing. Now this edge computing is localized intelligence which is at the end point of a device. For example, let's say I'm using a music app and I'm listening, then in my ear pod there is intelligence, and that's called edge computing, and it's a very latest phenomena. It's not there on the slide, but this edge computing is important because in all the devices we have, like self-driving cars and so on, we need this localized intelligence. That the car cannot wait for a centralized computer to send it the directions. The car has to decide on the spot, on the road, based on the traffic, based on its obstacle, about its next course. So that is edge computing. This is all related concepts. So self-driving cars, IoT is very important because it can transmit data and information about the road conditions, about the accidental probabilities, and about the weather conditions and so on. So now, if you can have some sort of devices which can measure pressure points, which can measure temperature and those kind of conditions, then you know that it's very easy to have tsunami kind of warnings. But not only that, if let's say suddenly there is a landslide and there are many accidents happening, and you immediately transmit the data to your insurance providers and to other traffic guys and so on, it can save many lives. So self-driving cars, IoT is very important. And then in logistics and supply chain, we have already seen, this is a very canned use case where everybody has talked about. It only benefits the corporates in terms of unleashing some liquidity, in terms of releasing some working capital quicker based on IoT. So the main thing here in supply chain and logistics is IoT is just an RFID tag which identifies an object as it moves across the length and breadth or the dimension. So whether it is something traveling international borders and you are concerned with its exporter, importer, and where it has crossed the border, where the risk has transferred and so on. So this is a commercial thing which is not of much relevance to all of us. But what is of relevance to all of us is personal data. And that personal data is no longer personal because we are transmitting, if we decide to have IoT in our homes, which it is going to be inevitable, it is going to be transmitted to all these companies like Amazon, Google, Apple and so on. We are all getting there. And these companies which control...
Excuse me, madam, but we are going to stop your presentation.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to talk much later. Thank you.